Hi everyone, I'm audible. Hello, hello, hello. Let me know if I'm audible. Okay, good evening. So, what about you guys, Shiva and Rajesh? Did you guys get the result or what? Because this is the same backend module that we are starting again. Okay. Then I was lagging. Okay, okay. Okay, let's just start the module. So I think Lenson is the new student here, and I think we are having an issue with the website right now. That's why students are not able to join. Okay, Lenson, so just let me know about yourself, like from which batch you are. Just let's have a normal conversation. I am from month 2.
Hi, good evening. So I'm from month two of the front end readiness module.
Okay, and when you have joined the Echo Jobs?
So I joined AccuJob on my first class of AccuJob was on April 27th this year.
Oh, okay, okay, nice. Okay, cool. Okay, so are you guys have any Discord channel like for the backend Node module? So do you guys have any WhatsApp group or
As,
any
as of
Discord channel?
as of now, I'm not being added into any WhatsApp group nor any Discord channel so far. So as of now, I'm still in my old Discord channel. So far, I've got no information.
Okay, okay, cool. Yeah, that was the same information that I have received. So I believe within 1 or 2 working day, there will be group that will be formed.
Okay.
Okay, so what was your previous module? Just React and all, right?
Yes. In the previous module, there was a React project, but it was like not a completely walkthrough. So it was like partially, there were like sync up sessions. And along with it, there were some classes about what do you call small task, right? For React, simple tasks to be performed, right? Which are used in interviews. So regarding that, some classes were present.
Okay, nice, nice. And what about you guys, Shiva and Rajesh? Like, did you guys get the results or what happened? Are you guys repeating this particular module? I'm not sure whether the results are out or not, but let's see if within a couple of days, if the results are out, then we'll see that what are your performances. Okay. I don't even know right now the results. So and I don't know how, like, should I start my session today or not? Like, only one new student is here. So let's just see. Uh, just give me a moment, okay? Yeah, Rajesh, what you are asking about the mock. So have you guys given the mock yet or not? Okay, let's see, let's see. Just reply me in the chat. So, okay, you have not given the mock, so I think there will be mock conducted. And I had given for module 2F. Okay, Nelson, fine. So basically, you have promoted the port was not the mock for me, for you, or explicitly for everyone right now? Because I am not sure. We ended the lecture on, I think, Friday, and I think for this week you should have the mock or something. Let's see. I'll have one conversation with the batch manager, then I'll let you know. Okay, so what we can do, we can start the session. I'll just gonna give the brief again, but that would be from the starting because this is we are expecting new students to come today. So let's give me a second. Okay, so basically, yeah, everyone, again, I'm just giving my introduction again. So I have done software engineering from Delhi Technical University, and that's basically D2. And I'm going to join Adobe. So regardless of like Node.js, I have done a couple of internships and uh, open source project development projects and complete merge stack projects, right? So I like the previous batch I have told for the Node.js, and this month also I'm going to carry forward with this. So what you guys can expect from this particular lecture or like from this whole course of a backend. So as of now, as you know, you guys have gone through the front end part. That is basically the React, right? And HTML, CSS, JavaScript along with that. So in backend, what you guys should expect and what you guys gonna have through a like overview is basically the technology that we are going to use to develop our backend servers is Node.js, right? So this is the main thing around which our whole module is going to revolve, right? So Node.js is something which comprise of a lot of things, but basically it helps us to create the servers, right? So this is the main thing. And when we talk about merge stack, right? MERN. So a lot of you have seen about this. Key there's a need for the merge stack developers, right? So what this stand for, M is basically MongoDB, right? E is stand for Express. R is standing. R just a second. Yeah, it's stand for React, and then we have Node.js. Node.js, right? So this is the thing. What right now there's a lot of demand of. Earlier it was MERN, and it was instead of R, it was A. Angular was going around, like just coming before the React. It was a bit more popular, but right now React has taken overtaken all of the frameworks for the front end side. And now you guys might be heard about Next.js and all of the things. Basically, they are just nothing, just a framework for the React, right? So this is the part that you have covered, right? But now, in order to become a merge stack developer, or you can say a web developer, or I will say a full stack developer, you need to cover these three things as well. So, what is Node.js? Node.js is basically, uh, which is the core of our module, right? This is what we're going to learn about. What is Express? Express is nothing, just a framework that we use in order to implement the Node.js. Basically, it simplifies the Node.js, nothing else. So it has its own vanilla Node.js. You can create vanilla Node.js servers, but Express that we are using as a framework that simplify a lot of functionality of Node.js, right? So that's what we're gonna learn. Every time when we were creating a server, you can expect that we're using Express along with the Node.js, right? And for the database, so this is for the front end and the backend, like the server part, right? The client and the server part. If we talk about the database right now in industry, there are two databases that we are using. Just a second. Yeah, so in industry right now we are using two kind of databases. That is, one is, you can say, relational database, other is non-relational database. Don't get confused by the terminologies that I'm using right now. Throughout this lecture, throughout this course, we're going to simplify these, we're going to break down these, and word by word we're going to learn and understand about each and every aspect of the things, right? So just understand there are two type of databases. One is, you can SQL, you can say, as structured query languages. Other is NoSQL. You can use MySQL, right? And there's NoSQL, right? Just a second. SQL and NoSQL. So these are the two categories of database that we are using. So MongoDB basically falls into this category, MongoDB, right? And MySQL fall inside this category. So you can use MySQL also with your Node.js and React projects, right? But you can say 90% of projects that we are developing in current world, in current situation scenario, 90% of the startups, all the projects, all the teachers who are teaching, this is what we are learning and teaching, right? This is where more and more new technologies are coming around, and this is in what it is used, right? So that's why we, in this lecture, we're gonna learn about both of the databases. But in majority of our projects that we're going to build, we will use MongoDB, but still we will learn a lot of thing about MySQL as well, because this is on which the old industries are built on, right? So let's say if you need to extract some data from some old companies, right? So that's why you should know MySQL as well, right? So in this particular module, you can expect these particular things as well, right? So this is what merge tech stand for, right? So I hope I am making a sense. So this is the things that you're going to cover in this particular uh throughout the course. There will be a lot of things, don't worry. I'll just break down the things that you can expect in this particular module, right? So one by one we'll go and we'll see. Just a second. So this particular curriculum, uh for you guys, like, what is the name? Jeroni and Lenson, right? Am I audible to you? Okay. Yeah. Jeroni, I'm pronouncing your name correct, right? Faith. Okay, so one thing, just I wanna make you guys, like, just make sure that at any point of time, if there's something that I'm teaching, if you feel that I'm going too fast, if you feel that I'm going too slow, I'm open to the feedback, right? So just unmute yourself, give your feedback, and it would be beneficial for both of us, right? Because I have that knowledge. I just need you to learn, right? So that's all I want. Okay, Anand, one more student joined, so I think, yeah. So Anand, for you as well, am I audible to you? Okay, a few students more join. Anand, Prachi, am I audible? Great. Let's just have a normal conversation. Now students are joining. So I just want to know from which background is Anand. This isn't asking for Prachi. So I'm just want to know that from which batches you have come along. Just write your batch name. Batch 17. Okay, nice. And the previous thing, like before this particular module, the previous thing that you guys have learned about is that is React. I'm expecting this, right? Yes or no, guys? Okay, great. Okay, so again, I'll just give you my introduction for you guys, and then we can start, right? So I was just telling the students that I have done my software engineering from Delhi Technical University, and I'm going to join Adobe as a SDE right now. And I've been working in AccuJob since 1 year, more than 1 year, I guess. Yeah, and I have been teaching, like, I have play a multiple roles here as a mock interviewer, like a teaching assistant, and then right now I'm an instructor as well. So I have been doing a lot of roles here. So that's all about me. And yeah, so Shubham also joined. So Yash, so this is what I was talking about earlier. So this is what you're gonna like when a people someone ask you that what's a full stack developer, or they're asking for something like we want a merge stack developer. So right now you guys have learned this particular thing, React, right? So in this particular module, what are the things that you can expect is you're gonna use the Node.js. Node.js, you can think it of as a server, as a tool, right? We will go more into a depth of it, don't worry, just learn the terminologies right now. Okay, so the Node.js we're going to learn, then we're going to learn the Express.js. What is Express.js? Nothing, just a framework to use Node.js. It is just a framework that simplifies the Node.js, and it provides few syntax logics that you can write, and it basically simplifies the Node.js, right? So most of the time, like majority of the time, or you can say 99.9% of the time, you're not gonna write a vanilla Node.js server. You're gonna write a server with the help of an Express, right? So that's coming to a picture. And then for the database, we're gonna use MongoDB. As I talked earlier, that there are both of the things that we're gonna learn, like MongoDB as well as MySQL, right? So the SQL, structured query languages, and this NoSQL, non-relational databases. So both of them we're gonna study, and we're gonna implement it. We're gonna integrate that when it with the projects, right? So that this is what we have covered so far. Now moving further, and I was talking and I was like talking about one more thing, that whenever I'm teaching, right? So whenever you guys feel that I'm going too slow, going too fast, you guys are not able to understand it, just be open to me. I'm just open to the feedback, right? So I just want you guys to learn and to implement and like to get a good job, right? So whatever you guys feel, you can write in the chat, you can unmute yourself, you can ask question. I'll repeat again and again. I have no issues with that, right? So just a second. Okay, so yeah, so now I was talking about the curriculum that we're going to follow, the things that we're going to learn in this particular whole lecture, right? So let's say backend Node.js. So here, like the first thing, which is a today's lecture, that the things that we're going to cover, which more or less is going to be theoretical. We're going to understand few stuff. So just say Node.js, what is Node.js and Express, right? Just a normal part, or you can say as a backend as a whole, what are the components of backend, right? You guys have learned about the client side, the front end part. Now we're going to understand the backend. So theoretical part today we can cover that, right? The next lecture, this will be the lecture number 1, I guess. Yes, so this will be the lecture number 1. Lecture number 2, we're going to cover what is APIs, right? So web APIs are there and REST APIs are there. So have you guys heard about APIs? Just let me know in the chat. Have you guys heard about? So this is what is responsible for communicating between the backend and the client, between multiple backends, right? Between the database and the server. So a person, a middleware, or you can say a person who is responsible for the communication part, this application programming interface, APIs, come into a picture. So we will learn about first API, then what is web API, then what is REST API, what are the differences. Okay. The third lectures, we're gonna put our focus on, just give me a second. Yeah, Express. Here I would write backend, Node and backend, right? Node and backend. And then we're gonna learn about Express. What is Express, right? How we can use that. And there is something called as NPM, which is can anyone know what is this NPM? Node Package Manager. Great. So this is Node Package Manager. So this is what we're going to use while developing most of the project. This is nothing, just a tool. We will go more into the depth of it. Don't worry, we will see the demos, we will create projects, no issues, right? And after that, we will also learn about few tools, few things which is very important in respect to the development part, because as you're working as a backend developer, you need to be sure about the status code, right? So what is status code? Can anyone give me an example of any status code? Does anyone know what is status code? Yeah, 404, like page not found. 401, 200 is okay. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Great. So that is what we're going to first have an understanding of what is status code, what are their ranges and all of the stuff, like the theoretical part, right? And then we're going to create some of the APIs, some of the routes in a backend, and then use a tool which is known as Postman to test it. Because a lot of time when you're working as a backend developer, there will be no client to you, no interface, no UI part through which you are developing a backend, right? So this is a tool that you can use to communicate with your backend, right? And then what about the databases? So we will see some of the example of the databases. Like first we will put more focus around the theoretical side. Basically, let's say like intro, types of database, advantages, SQL demo, MongoDB demo. So these are the things that we can cover on this particular module. So you can expect this lecture, and a bit of this lecture to be a kind of a, you can say, theoretical. Here and here, like the 80% of this, 50% of this would be implementation based, right? So that's coming into a picture. Our next lecture would be authentication. So as if you're working as a backend developer, one of the greatest thing which come into a picture is authentication, because you are interacting with the database, right? You are interacting with the business logics. So this is something which is very important. So we will see in depth. So you can say this is the majority of the thing that you need to put your focus around in order to learn about backend, in order to pass your modules, right? So authentication is something that we're gonna put our focus more around. And in that, there are two types of authentication. One is session based authentication system. I think you guys have heard about session based, right? Session has generated and it's stored somewhere on your browser, so you keeps logged in, right? So have you guys heard about what is sessions? Right. And the another one is token based. So this is session based and this is token based. Token based, yeah, token JWT comes into token base. So where we are using this particular thing, there are a few differences between them. They both are used for authentication only, but yeah, there are a few differences between them, and you should know how to implement both of them. And JWT, token based authentication, are more, you can say, this is something that we use for login system, right? Login and registration part. And this is something where you can use for have you guys heard about 2FA? Have you guys heard about 2FA? Can anyone tell me what is this? Two-factor authentication, right? So let's say you logged in, but you need to send a OTP to your phone, or you can send an email verification link to your mail, right? So that is a second layer of authentication system. So that's come into a picture with token-based authentication system and majorly with JWT. So we're gonna implement this thing. We're gonna implement this thing. So every time when you're working somewhere, you should know what are the protocols that you should use while developing your routes, your servers, everything, right? So from here, from here you can say majority of the learning implementation part would come into a picture, and you can say that from here only 80% of the things will start going beyond your learning, right? So you won't be able to understand everything in one go, right? So you need to put more focus from this particular lecture. Then for, let's say, here we have done 5 lectures. For lecture number 6, 7, and I think 8, right? We're gonna implement basically, you can say, our app or a small server, a small project. So that will be your to-do app, but that will include a kind of a, you can say, front end, a back end, And as a front end, you can say, just I will write this way: a client and a server and a database, right? So it will has everything. It will have the authentication system, right? That a person only who's logged in is going to make all of the routes, right? Who's going to create new to dos. And it will also be connected with MySQL. We will optimize all of the routes, right? Because it is important that you're working, but you are working and creating your algorithms, your logic with some optimizations, right? So that is important. So everything, majority, or I'll say 80% of the thing that you're gonna learn, we will cover in this particular to do app only. So once you are able to create one this thing, you are able to understand, then you are good to go with everything. And this particular thing, we are connecting a database with MongoDB, so we will be going more into the depth of it here only in MongoDB, right? So all of its function, all of the things, all of the frameworks the MongoDB provides us, we're going to use here only. And after that, we have 2 lectures for MongoDB, but I will try to like include these, whatever the thing that we're going to study here, I will try to include that thing here only, so that while implementing, you should learn those things, right? And if anything left after that, then we will cover that in these 2 lectures. After that, we will have one lecture for SQL, right? And then 2 lectures for file system, right? Because it is also important, file systems. So let's say you have to upload a particular PDF, right? There are a lot of websites, there are a lot of places where there's a need in the forms that you have to upload PDF format files, you have to upload some images, some videos. Even if you're uploading your profile pic, that is also something which is a image, right? Which is a file, right? So how we can learn a file system, or with servers with Node.js, that we're gonna study it about here in this file system, right? And then I think after 12 and 13, just a second, the final things come into in picture for this particular lecture, that is module from 14 to 20. From lecture number 14 to 20, we are going to build a course final project, or you can say milestone project, that is a blogging assignment, right? This is what we're going to learn. So you can expect your curriculum to be end by here, right? And this will be what we have learned. That's the only thing that we're going to implement in this particular thing. But from here to 12 and 13, this will be your learning part, and this will be just an assessment, or we will have these 6 to 7 lectures to implement. I will be implementing in each and every class, and I think you guys know the timings about the classes. It is going to be 3 hour classes from 8 to 11, and I am expecting you guys, just one thing that I'm expecting, try to come on time. uh don't make it like you're coming after 8:15 or 8:20. And what I used to do is, I like, if I'm teaching up to 9 or 10, I'll give you guys 15 minutes of break, and after that we will continue and complete for the 3 hour lecture. We can do that. Along with that, you guys will say that we are not having any spaces for doubts and all. So I have those spaces. I will manage those things for each and every project that we are creating for this particular thing, like to do app. And from blogging assignment, don't worry, I will make sure that complete day will be given to you guys, or complete classes like a 3 hour lecture will be given to you guys to have those lectures. So this is important. Try to implement this thing, because by the end of this month, if this is not even completed, this is the thing that which is completed, and on this basis you guys will be having your module test and everything, right? So try to implement this along with me. Try to ask the doubts, and once I have like schedule a doubt session for this, like try to come up with everything that you can ask for, all the doubts. And also this particular app we're going to deploy as well, right? So yeah, that's also the important part. So anyone have any issues with this? Ki, why this, why not this, and then any issue, any part? Let me know in the chat if everything is clear. Let me know that as well. All clear, guys? Am I audible now? Okay, so today we're gonna start our lecture. Okay. So let's write here lecture number 1. Okay, just a second. Okay, so as of now, what you guys were doing is learning React. So you were only creating this particular part. Let's say the client part, right? You guys have been working with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you are embedding everything with the help of React, right? And that what we were creating. But now just think of an architecture or think of something. Let's say we have only, this is one layer. Let's say layer number 1. Okay, that is my layer number 1, and then there's another layer, right? So this, at this particular level only, I have my client, I have my server. Like client and server, both of them are at the same layer, right? Or you can say we don't have any servers, only the client is there, right? The client is there, and then we have layer number 2, which is the database, right? Database. So you can say server and database here. Okay, so whatever the client is making a request, or the client is able to interact directly with your databases. So I think you guys have like built some DSA projects with Java, and you have integrated MySQL with that. So whatever you are doing on that particular game, on that particular UI, you are directly interacting with the databases, right? Yes or no, guys? बनाया है किसी ने ऐसा project while coming along? Okay. Have you guys heard about this snake game, or any games, the small TSA application? So in this, what we do is we create Java application and we directly integrate that with MySQL, right? This is what we do. So this is the UI part, and this is your database. So your UI is directly like interacting with the database. So is it a good level architecture, you can say? Is it a good way of building your projects? Can anyone answer me? Okay, किसी को पता like why we should not do this? Okay, so basically what is happening is, this is my client part, right? You are my user, and like you, there are thousand of my users, million of people are using my applications, right? And if I'm allowing them to directly interact with the database, then they can change anything directly inside the database without any authentication, without any like, well, if I want to like separate few things that I don't want user to get interact with, but they can directly do that. They can manipulate my database. So it is always said the UI should not interact directly with the databases. So earlier we were having this kind of an architecture. This where the layer 1 and layer 2 was present. So you say it two-tier architecture, right? This is what two-tier architecture was there. So it has a lot of issue. It basically, like, it is not safe for using for businesses. There were data manipulation, data leak, a lot of things was going around. Then three-tier architecture come into a picture, where there will be a client, right? And there will be a server, and then there will be a database. And this is also not good for scaling your project. If you think, let's say Hotstar, so they are handling like millions of people while they are watching the match, right? So this is also not, you cannot do that with this kind of an architecture. You need a server where you can scale this particular thing. There's a need that you can scale so that your app becomes good and more easy to use for the people. in the time of high peak or high rush time as well. So then this come into a picture that, okay, there's a client, there will be a server, and there will be a database. So this server, what the server will responsible for, the server is going to be responsible for handling all the requests which is coming from the client part. Okay, whatever the request which will come from the client, it will be handled by the server. Okay, all the business logic, like you want something into a particular way only, so all of your business logic, all of the handling of routes will be done by this server. So when I'm saying routes or this will interact with this thing, so basically what is happening is client will interact with the server with APIs, right? API is nothing, just an, you can say it is a network call. Okay, so one, you need to send a data from one place to another, you need to build a connection first. So a connection need to be built first. That is some kind of a protocol in computer networks. If you guys come from that background, so in computer networks, you need to build first connection like TCP, UDP, or you can say HTTP protocol. So these are the protocol that first take place, and then only you are able to send some data from here to here. This was my client, this was my server. If you need to send the data, first a connection will be take place, and every call that you're doing, that will be from the API. So API is nothing, just a network call that is responsible for first making the connections and then sending the data. That's all. Okay. So when we make an API call, every route, let's say we can have a multiple users now. Let's say there will be a website, or you can say Windows application, right? Then there can be iOS application, then there can be like Android. All of them will make request. This will make request, this will make request, this will make request at server. Okay, there will be a server. So all of the requests will be handled by this particular server only, and then there will be a database which this server will interact with, right? So this is how it is happening. So you will have multiple client applications you can have, but there will be one server. There could be multiple servers as well, but you are treating them as one main server, right? There will be one main server, then that main server will further be broken down into multiple servers, but that is what responsible for interacting with your database and everything. So this is not going to interact directly with this. So that is why we are using 3-level architecture, and it is important from every perspective. Like if you are building this kind of an application to start your project, or any for startup or in a company, you will be thrown out, right? Just a second. So you need to work on this particular aspect, where the servers come into a picture, right? So that is all about the 3-level architecture system. Okay, just a second. So anyone have any issues with this? What is 3-level architecture? All clear, guys? Okay. Now let's just talk about the components of the backend, right? So just a second. Components of a backend. So when I call my backend and a server, there are two different things, right? So can anyone tell me what are the things the backend comprises of? Batao, like anything, it could be anything. I'm not talking about any tools, just in general. What is backend? When someone asks you that you need to work on a backend side, the first thing I think which should come to your mind, that is server. Server is the important thing, right? Databases, very good. Database which comes into your backend part. Databases. There are three more things I will tell you guys. I have been using a term repeatedly, that is a storage comes into the database only. That is what? Business logic. So business logic is important. So you cannot use same server again and again for each and every kind of project, right? You cannot use same backend. You need to build everything differently with different requirement of the client or user, right? So business logic. The fourth will be, as I told you guys, about the APIs. About the APIs. Okay, let's talk about them one by one, and then we will go into more depth of it. Okay, so what is server? So let's say this is my bigger picture. This is my backend, right? And then there is this server. Now this server is interacting with a database, right? And then we have a client, let's say. So just give me a second. This is my client. So client will send, I'm gonna use two more terminologies. Don't get confused. One is request, we write it as REQ, other is response. Okay? So whenever you try to hit a server, like you have just whenever you go to the, let's say you search google.com or youtube.com or iqjobs.com, a request, a network call take place, right? And it sends two things. One is a request and one is a response. So request contains few of the information that about the client, that what they are sending, if there is any data, if there are any authorization tokens, anything that will be in the request. And then the server is going to deal with everything, whether they need to interact or they need to return back some data. So it will be sent back inside a response. So a request will come and a response will be sent. So this is how it is working. A request will come and a response will be sent. Okay? So when you see a message of 200 okay response, right? You get something like this. So that means a response is coming back to you and you have making a request. So this two things is the key of APIs, you can say, right? So front-end developer is not responsible for creating the APIs, right? So a backend, this is the role of the backend developer who is creating these APIs. And this, what is this API? They are just basically help you to interact between the client and the server. And then here inside this server, you can perform any business logic, you can interact with database, you can then validate any information, and then you can respond back to the server, right? So then you are interacting with the database, and then the database will respond back to you. And this is one read operation or write operation that you are performing inside a DB, right? We write it as DB. So read write operation you are performing, so we called it as IO bound operations, which is input output bound operations, right? So a server is making IO bound operation on the databases. So this is what backend, this is what server. There is a difference. Now inside a backend, you can have multiple servers. Okay, let's say this is my server number one. Then there could be a server two. There could be multiple databases, but everything, like from a business point of view, everything belongs to me. So I will treat them as one server, one backend. Like this is everything which is inside my backend, right? Which is inside my backend folder. So you can think in this way that there will be a client folder, there will be a backend folder. So everything will here. These are the things. So I talked about the servers, then I talked about the databases. Database is nothing where let you are just storing your data, your raw data here inside the databases, and you use some kind of tools in order to like utilize or manipulate those datas, that is MongoDB or MySQL. That's why we call them as RDB, sorry, database management system, right? So they are the database management system, MySQL and MongoDB, so which help us to manipulate our raw data inside the databases. Okay, so if you want to take an example, MongoDB would be a database, but uh, okay, sorry, NoSQL would be a database which is a no relational database, right? And MongoDB is a framework, or you can say database management system, through which you can create, you can read, you can write, you can update, you can delete, you can manipulate your data, right? So this is what we uses inside a thing, right? So I have talked about database, right? Then we have, I think, business logic. So business logic could be anything. I'll give you a few examples. Business logic. Okay. So let's say my business is any streaming platform, Netflix, or Hotstar or anything. So that will be my business logic, that okay, you need to return few of the videos. Okay, you need to authenticate. Authentication is a business logic, right? Then on which thing that you're working, either you are a e-commerce website, or you are a streaming platform, or you are any product based company, right? Like Adobe provides a lot of products, CCD, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, everything that's a product based. Or you are a service based company, you are providing just service, right? Like you are telling about few of the jobs which come, which have been posted in recent days, right? You are just providing few information. So these are my business logic, that okay, a client is making a request, in return what I have to send. I need to send products, I need to send some videos, I need to send other things that a person can use in order to enhance their skills, right? So this is what business logic come into a picture, and how you are doing that. That is the role of a backend developer. No one is going to teach you whether what's correct and what's wrong, because one more thing, that while throughout this journey, you will see that backend development is something that gonna be more of a tedious, or you can say, while when you were working on a React side now, you were building something from the scratch, and you were able to see something, right? A UI was generating, right? Every time you code, there is a reflection of that you can see, right? So it also encourages you to code more, and by the end of the project, it gives you certain kind of an, like you can say, relaxation, or that you have completed something, right? And it feels good. You can show some other peoples in your family that okay, this is what I have built on the website. That feeling would not be here while you're working on the backend part. So this is comprises more of coding, more of logic, more of architectures, but this is impacting. See, there's pros, there is con. So you won't get that kind of a feeling that you have like built something very beautiful, but this is what that will have an impact. Let me give you an example. Let's say there's a button. Okay, you created an UI, beautiful UI, but then a lot of changes would have been asked by your manager or someone, so you are changing the button position from one place to another. That is not going to like have an impact on your work. Okay, matlab, if you show your manager the next time, it will be just okay, okay, you have just changed the button, like the color of a button or the position of a button, you have just added few more images, right? So those UI is not going to impact a lot of the business into the consideration, right? But then backend come into a picture where you code more. uh, you will only say that okay sir, I added authentication system, right? This is only one word, but it is going to have a lot of impact on your backend side. This is going to take time. This is what a lot of logic, lot of coding, and test cases, corner cases come into a picture that you should have think of, and then you have created. So there is an impact, but that's what I'm just saying, because student later on says me ki sir, maza nahi aa raha hai. So that is one of the thing. But if you are like interested in coding, you'll find it more interesting, because I have been doing merge tech projects more than I think 3 years, and I found to build like I found something to be more impacting, that when you're working from end-to-end products, you are creating the UI for it, and then also you are creating the API for it, and then you are creating the server for it, right? So there will be an end-to-end product. Let's say payment gateway system, or someone is checking out a product, someone is adding an authentication system. So from UI to API to server, if you're completely working on a certain flow, then you are leaving a more impact. That's why this is important. Okay. And yeah, let's talk about the next thing. The next thing was API. I have talked to you guys about API. We will see more into depth of APIs in the upcoming lectures. Nothing. It's just a network calls which allow us to first make connections, and then to send the information. So it could be between client and a server. And even if there is, let's say this is my server number 1, and then there is server number 2, right? There could be server number 3. So these API also help you to interact between multiple servers, right? This is also one of the things. So you can with APIs you can read right from the databases. You can communicate with the third party servers. you can read any file system, right? So this API is very helpful in communicating between every machine. Just think, this is a machine, right? A client is a machine, a server is a machine, or another server, any external server is a machine, right? So any communication that is taking place, that is with the help of an APIs, right? So that is very important to learn, right? So APIs, and then we have frameworks. So I have talked to you guys about the frameworks that you're gonna use, because you cannot develop everything from the scratch. If you're trying to build everything from the scratch, that is gonna take a lot of time for you, and you won't be able to succeed what your other competitors can by using some external libraries. Frameworks are nothing, just an external libraries that one person has already developed something, and then you are using those libraries, right? So for Node.js, we're gonna use Express, right? That framework. For MongoDB, we're going to use a framework called Mongoose, right? So this will be also one of the thing. So a lot of packages, a lot of frameworks will come into in picture while working. Okay, you don't have to write each and everything from the scratch. So these are the 5 things which are the main components of a backend system. Okay, got it, everyone? Let me know in the chat if it is okay with you guys. No doubts. Okay, just a second. Okay. Where is MongoDB in the picture? MongoDB is this database. Okay, Devansh. We have 7 students. Okay. Okay, let's just move forward. And now I'm gonna give you an kind of an analogy, and then from there we are going to conclude something. Okay. So just a second. Let's just think that there's a restaurant. Okay. There's a restaurant, and inside that there could be two categories of restaurant. Okay, so let's say the first type of restaurant, this is my first type, where there is one table number one, then table number two, table number three. Okay, we can have more tables, let's say T4, T5 and T6. Okay, then one customer comes, right? Let's say customer number one come, and for that we will have, it will place an order, let's say order one, and it will be dealt by waiter number one. Then customer two comes into in picture, then it will place a order number two, and that will be dealt by, they're coming at the same time, or you can say just a few seconds away from each other, these customers, and we have waiters in line so that we can deal with them, right? Because if you go some expensive restaurant, so you guys have also seen that, okay, there are multiple waiters, right? And then let's say customer number three comes, it places an order three, and it will be dealt by waiter number three. And right now also, if more customer come into a picture, we have few of the waiters which are in line, let's say waiter number 4, waiter number 5, waiter number 6. These are still waiting because we don't have any waiters for now, so they are taking the order, they are going to the, you can say, the kitchen, and telling the chef, okay, this is what you need to make. Then those order will be returned by those particular waiter only to that customer. So this is the first type of an restaurant. Okay, the another type of restaurant, just a second. Okay, so the another type of will be something like this. Let's say this is here is my chef, right? Or a kitchen, right? And then there is table one, two, and three tables, right? First customer comes C1. It will be taken this particular order. Let's say order number one will be taken by customer number one, and then what he'll do? Then customer two comes, customer three comes. But right now we have only one waiter, so that person will take the order, then give it back to the shed. That, okay, this is your order. Then he's preparing the order number one. Then he will go back to the customer number two. Then he will take the order number two and tell the chef prepare the order number two. Then he will go to the customer number three, and then he will say that okay, this takes the order, and then this person is creating this thing. Now all of this particular orders will be returned to this particular places only by the same waiter only, right? So these are the two type of restaurant that we have seen. So according to you guys, in terms of a backend system, what do you think is better? Means here we are talking about multiple servers, right? Let's say multiple waiters, multiple servers, and anything, right? In terms of backend, I just want you guys to think that okay, which is going to be better, either this or this, or what you are going to be used. There's no wrong answer. Just let me know that which this is my let's say backend number one, this will be my backend number two. So which you will pick, and just write an example key why you are picking that particular thing. Glenson is saying the first one. I need response from everyone. Quicker service and performance. Okay, yeah, you can say quicker service and performance. Right, right, right. Depend upon the number of customer, you can say that moderate to high level of customers are there. The rest of you guys, Prachi, Shubham, Jeroni, what do you guys say? One, okay. So I think service compared to chef. I'm just talking about the backend. There could be multiple servers. Yeah, this is the server. The chef is the server. These are the APIs you can think of. That there. Just a second. This is my pet. Okay, now fine. So yeah, we are. This is my client side. They are making a call API. They are executing their order. It's basically performing what they have ordered or what they need to perform, and then returning it back to the particular person. So this is what. So I will write there both of their pros and cons. So let's say this pro and con, and here also pro and con. So here the pro will be the less time, as you guys have seen, less time. The con will be more resources, right? Because when let's say even at the moderate to high level of time, I have few waiters whom that I'm paying, but they are not useful for me because let's say 80% of the time they are just waiting, right? To more people come and they will serve. So more resources are required. And here in this particular pros, less resource is required, less resource is required. And then the con will be delay. That okay, a person waited, the person, let's say this customer number three will take 30 plus 30, after 1 hour he'll get his order, right? So there will be a delay, right? So these are the two things that we comprises from concluded from these particular both of the website. But in reality we know that there is, okay, the deal breaker is basically the resource. The deal breaker, when once you are deciding a server, when you are creating a server, is resources. Because the developer knows you can increase the you can optimize this particular thing, means the amount of time they are taking, right? So he's taking, let's say this particular, here the chef was taking 30 minutes to build something, here the chef can take, let's say 5 to 10 minutes only in order to do something. So the developer knows that okay, you can optimize this particular thing, but which is very important to us, that is resources, because computational powers is very high right now in today's world. If you are using any servers, let's say AWS cloud system or anything that you are using for computation, they are very expensive. So resources is very important for us, and we need to reduce the resources. So any backend or Node.js application that you're going to create, that will be this particular category of servers. So what we call this as a single thread. We call this as a single thread. What I mean by thread is process. Thread means process, right? So one API was taking to the one server, or you can say then it is first it will execute the first order, then the second order, and the third order. So single thread is working. First it will take from here to here, let's say 10 minutes, then another 10 minutes, and then another 10 minutes. So this is how it is working, which is called as single thread, and this is multi-thread. This is multi-thread, right? There are few applications that whenever the need is there, you need to create multi-threading system as well. But Node.js is a single thread application, and why we are using this in order to reduce the resources, because this particular thing that I have talked about, that okay, the first 10 minutes will be take care by here, then 10 minutes, then 10 minutes, that can be optimized by with the help of Node.js, with the help of JavaScript in particularly, right? So we are optimizing something where we can have less resources. So just this is the point that I want to make, that okay, why we are using Node.js, because it is a single thread application, right? We are not choosing the multi-threading system right now. We are going with a single thread. Any doubt, anyone, with this part? I will go more into the depth of single thread, multiple threads, and then how this particular optimization is taking place, because that is very important to understand the working of Node.js, and from interview point of view as well. I don't want to make a lot of complications in the first lecture as well. Just this is the only complication that you're gonna face today, that is why Node.js is a single thread, and how it is going to optimize these stuff, right? So let's see that. Just a second. So yeah, I will just make I will now just explain this same thing with more make sense. Just a second. So how like these multi-threading and single thread works? Just give me a second. Let's say multi-thread process, and then there is a single thread. So how they are working is, let's say one request come, like one customer come, right? So here the process was the first customer come. So you, let's say this was the C1, customer one, and then you send the waiter one, right? You send the waiter one to take the order. Then while he was taking the order, or let's say it was in the process, another, let's say here it has not ended yet, it was going along. Okay, at this particular time, let's say this was a some time where you allotted a waiter to this customer, and then at this point only another customer come into a picture, right? Another customer come into a picture, which is C2. So now what you're going to do is assign the waiter number 2 to that customer number 2. So basically what you're doing, you are creating a new thread. You are creating a new thread. So everything which has been worked from here to here, it is going to be divided into two things. This will be the process number 1, this will be the process number 2. So here what we did, we fork. किसी को पता है fork क्या होता है? गिटहब पे कभी देखा है fork होता है, fork the GitHub, और या कभी ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में ये वर्ड सुना हो, what is fork? So ये क्या करता है, एक क्लोन क्रिएट करता है. तो यहाँ पे हम जैसे गिटहब पे you can create a fork of a repository, you can clone, you can replicate. So here we are creating a fork of a process. एक process का हमने fork किया, तो ये हो गया parent, and then we are creating a child out of it, a child process, right? Now this child process will have each and every functionality, data types, methods as of the parent, right? But it will be executing simultaneously with the parent one, right? So that's what we do once we create a fork, right? Then at the same time, let's say here they were implementing, we are not done yet, and then there is another customer come, so we created a new thread, let's say customer number 3, and then waiter number 3 will be allocated to that particular person, right? So this is more efficient, no doubt this is efficient, but it requires more of the resources. And here in single thread what will happen is, only let's say one customer come C1, we, let's say here only I allotted the waiter number 1 to that particular customer, but let's say at that time only a customer number 2 comes. At this point customer number 2 comes, but I cannot allot any other customer to that. Once this customer 1 is finished, then only from here the customer 2, W1 will take the order of the C2, right? This is how it is working. So from here to here customer 1, from here to here customer 2, and then so on and so forth. So one finished, then we're going to pick the other. This is was a single thread, a normal one process from the start to the end. And here we created a multiple threads. Thread means what? Processes contain a lot of things. It could contains your data types, it could contains method functionalities, right? So this is how the differentiation take place. Few example of multi-thread frameworks is .NET, right? Have you guys might have heard about .NET? Microsoft uses a lot of .NET, and this is an example of Node.js, which is a single thread, right? Here the advantages are less resources, less costing is important, and you can say less effort. So these are the things. I think effort does not make sense, because effort is nothing, just work divided by price only. So okay, less resources and less costing. So these are the advantages of these things, right? So we will go more into a depth of multi-thread and this thing, single thread. But before that we will have an introduction of Node.js, that what is Node.js, right? Then we will see the characteristic of Node.js, that is a single threaded. And the second term that we uses for, I am not like taking the second name right now, because I thought you guys get confused. But first, a Node.js is a single thread, and optimization, that how it is doing this particular and optimize, that is asynchronous. This is asynchronous in nature, right? So these are the two things which help us to like optimize Node.js as a framework, and then which is like making a statement that it is better than other frameworks that we can use, other technologies for backend. I'll just give you guys few examples, so that you should have a few understanding. One will be, let's say, .NET, other could be Spring, right? One of the example is Node.js itself, that we're gonna study the inside this particular lecture. So this is what we're gonna pick, Node.js. This is, I think, inside a Java. This is also with the help of PHP, I guess. Yeah, XML and all PHP. This is very old technology. Java is this is an industry as well. So what is the difference between, like, the major difference between Spring and Node.js as of now? So this is for single server application. If you want to create a server application which is a single server, right? If it is a single server, then you can prefer Node.js. But for, let's say, multiple servers, you need multiple servers, then Spring come into in picture. With in Node.js also you can create multiple servers, because right now they also given you this kind of an functionality by the team of Node.js, that okay, here also you can create multiple servers. So this will be my server number 2, server number 3, server number 4. So let's say it's an e-commerce website, so server 1 is handling the users, all of the routes, all of the things that a user is doing. Server number 2 is dealing with all the orders that a person is executing an order. So server number 2 will handle that. Server number 3 can deal with the cart, all the checkouts, all the payment gateway, everything. So then Spring comes into a picture, and every big MNC right now, they are using Spring. There's no doubt about that. But Node.js is also developing, and you can use multiple server in Node.js as well. Okay. So these are the two major differences. .NET is old. No one is uses .NET as of now. Okay, so let's just talk about what is Node.js that we're gonna learn in the whole month which is coming, right? What is Node.js? किसी को थोड़ा भी एग्जांपल कुछ आइडिया है what is Node.js? Any information about Node.js? JavaScript runtime, correct? I'll just write run JS on server. Run JavaScript on server, exactly correct. I think you guys have few of the knowledge with respect to this thing. So I'll write this statement or definition. Node.js is a JavaScript runtime environment. Okay, and you can say it is built on Chrome V8 engine. I'll explain everything, don't worry. Built on Chrome V8 engine. Okay, and then another definition of thing is I can write something like this. Node.js is a JavaScript which is running on a server. Which is running on a server. So these are the two things. I'll explain one by one everything. So first of all, what is JavaScript runtime environment? Can anyone tell me this? Very nice, Shubham. Great. Can anyone tell me what is JavaScript runtime environment? Yeah. So basically, we need an environment where we can execute JavaScript, right? Environment in something, your coding environment, let's say. So here, this is my local machine. In local machine, I have JavaScript installed, I have Python installed, I have MySQL installed, and I have provided every path to it so I can use at every file location everywhere. I can run that, and my Python files, my MySQL files could run there. So I have just created a runtime environment where I can execute these type of files. So JavaScript a runtime environment built on Chrome V8 engine. Now what is this? So Chrome is you guys also know Chrome is famous for its browser, right? So there is a Chrome browser, right? And earlier, uh, as you know, there was this JavaScript was used for the client part because you can execute JavaScript on Chrome. If you guys know about this, let me open a Chrome and then I'll show you guys. Let's go to the console part. Okay, here. So let's say where a is equals to 5 plus 9. Okay, and let's stay a. So you can see a is 14, right? You can write anything else. Let's say you basically whatever the logic that you're performing inside your coding, you can do that on a browser as well, right? So how a IDE, let's say Eclipse or VS Code or anything, which was providing us an environment where we executed our G++, we executed C++, Java, right? For C++, we need MinGW, right? Which is MinGW is a compiler which help us to execute C++ file. And then V8 engine is something which help us to execute JavaScript, and V8 engine has been inbuilt on Chrome, on browser, right? V8 engine is present here. That's why we are able to execute the JavaScript here. So someone as a developer think that, okay, why not we take out this V8 engine from the browser, right? So we take out this V8 engine and put that in any existing language, right? And then make another language that we can use as the backend as well. So they uses C++ for it. They uses C++ for it. They uses the V8 engine, C++, and they combine both of them, and then they term it as Node.js. No, V8 engine does not, JavaScript engine nahi hai uspe. V8 engine is just a engine, or you can say a compiler, which help us to execute the JavaScript itself. JavaScript engine nahi, JavaScript को execute करने के लिए एक V8 engine होता है. Just a compiler, you can think of in this way, a machine, a compiler, something like that. ठीक है? So someone took out that V8 engine from the browser, put that, and he was a Google developer only, and put that with a programming language like C++, and then we form a Node.js application. So now the JavaScript was used on the browser, which is your client side, and JavaScript could be used as the server side. So a very famous question in an interview that a person asked, that JavaScript is a client or a server language. So it is both. You can use JavaScript at both of the places. But V8 is not C++ compiler. C++ के लिए we have MinGW. MinG, I think, yeah. This is the compiler of C++. No, 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 no. C. C++ के लिए compiler ये था, but they need a programming language so that they can execute particular thing. So Node.js, they are executing this C++ with some modification, of course, and they're running that on V8. V8 runs what? JavaScript. So now you can implement this C++ as a JavaScript on that V8 engine and executing, and then they are forming the Node.js. Don't go in a lot of depth of it, that how they converted it into and all of this stuff. Just think this way, that they put V8 engine along with the programming language, and they termed that as Node.js. So right now, this particular, see, V8 engine is also something which is written, right? So let's say MinGW, take an example of MinGW. MinGW is also a software, nothing else. So software has been written in some programming languages, right? This V8 engine is also written in some programming language. So we compress that with the C++. So to put a more functionality into it, right? So once we did that, we term that as Node.js. Okay, that is the differentiation. We are not like the developer, from a developer perspective, we are writing JavaScript only, and we are running that on the help of, with the help of V8 engine only. But the modifications, all of the stuff was taken place in V8 engine with the help of C++. So that's what they called it as. Okay, so just nothing. Similarly, I'll just repeat again, Node.js is nothing, just a this particular is provide you an environment where you can run your JavaScript files, right? So right now it was working on browser. Now with the help of Node.js, you can do that on your local environment as well. Basically, you can create a local host, and then you can write JavaScript code there. So that is what it means. So it's a JavaScript environment built on Chrome V8 engine, or you can say Node.js is nothing, a JavaScript which is running on a server. So right now it was working on the Chrome part, and on the browser side, now it can be work on the server part. Few of the industry that you should be like guaranteed of one thing, na, that okay, this is the technology that you're gonna learn. Are there any company which are using this technology? So yes, there are. So for an example, the company which uses Node.js is one of the famous companies, Netflix. Another is PayPal, you can think of, and I think LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn also uses Node.js. Uber uses Node.js. Uh, Even the NASA is using the Node.js. Walmart, very big franchise. All of these companies are using Node.js as their servers, right? So it is a very famous language, a very well written language with a lot of inbuilt functionalities, tools, community, everything is there. So that's why we are learning Node.js as an language. So I hope I make sense, right? Okay, if you guys have any doubt, you can ask. Let's just move forward. So right now we just studied about that. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so yeah. So now we're gonna see what are the uses of Node.js. Okay, so you guys can create notes, and if you do not want, don't worry, I'm gonna write each and everything so that I can provide this particular link only to you guys, so that for revision purpose you guys can use this. What are the uses of Node.js? Okay, so the first thing is it can interact with the databases. So it can read, it can create, right? So we call that as IO bound, right? So operations, input output bound operations. So it is reading inside a database, writing, or anything that it is doing, right? Then if you want to create some application which is data streaming applications, right? So there also you can use Node.js, right? Data streaming applications. And if you want to create something like real-time chat application, real-time video chat application, those type of projects are can be built easily on Node.js, right? So real-time chat application. So if these are the category of your projects, you can create these things, right? So with the easily. So I will explain you what is an input output bound within just an example so that you can understand and what the Node.js server can do. So let's create a Node.js server. This, let's say Node.js server, right? This is my client, and they have their conversations. It makes a request, and this is responding it back, right? And then this Node.js server will have some business logic inside it that we're gonna write. The things that it can do is, let's say, it can interact with the database. I just want you guys to remember these three categories. So one will be the database, right? So it is interacting with these things. Then there could be any external server or any external network, third party network, anything. So your Node.js server can interact with that as well. And even you can create multiple servers, anything. So it can interact with the networks as well. And then you can perform a read write operation on your disk as well. So this is your IO operation, right? And if there is a disk, let's say my RAM, my secondary memory, and there is a file which is placed inside my secondary memory, I want to read that, I want to write that. Normal txt file hai, I just want to write something on that, so that also I can do with the help of a Node.js application. I want to upload something, any file system, anything which is present on my disk, either it's a secondary memory, cache, anything. So you can interact with that as well with the help of Node.js application. So just a second. So again, you can make any IO bound operation. So this is input output bound operation. This is just a network call with the help of the APIs, right? So this is the three things a Node.js server can do. And these are the category of apps or the broader category of things that you can build with Node.js applications, right? Any issue with this network, database, and disk? किसी को कोई issue इसमें? Okay, great. Now we're going to understand about the characteristic or the nature of Node.js, which is important from interview point of view. And even you should know now why you are using this thing. So Node.js comes with a picture of JavaScript. JavaScript has two things that is very important, which makes this Node.js very fast, very useful for us. The first is asynchronous nature, async nature, asynchronous nature. The second is single thread, right? single thread, right? So these are the two things which is very important. And what is asynchronous calls? Like we call as asynchronous call. So any call, any API call which is interacting with the database, which is interacting with the network, with disk, you can call them as a asynchronous call. What do you mean by asynchronous call is, let's say a certain path or certain process was executing, right? Now you need to do something which is let's say this is a business logic. You are implementing a particular request come from an client side, you are executing that, and at a point of time you want to read and write inside the database, so you make a call to the database, right? But if that will return you back the response, then only when the database return you something, then only you start executing the rest of the things inside this process, let's say P1, right? This is what a general flow of it. But we know, like the JavaScript know that this is an asynchronous call. And let's say this particular function, let's say यहाँ पे function 1 था, function 2 था, here this database call was function 3, and here we have function 4 and function 5, right? So JavaScript know that this was not a asynchronous function, this is not, this is a synchronous, this is a synchronous function, but this was a asynchronous function. So what it will do, that it will evaluate that whether this F4 and F5 depends on the result that we are getting from the database. ठीक है, अगर इसके रिजल्ट पे ये दोनों चीजें, ये फंक्शंस डिपेंड करती है, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna wait for it, that okay, it took us 5 seconds, then the read write operation took us 5 seconds, and after the 10 seconds we will start executing from this point. But it will evaluate that okay, these two functions are not dependent on the result that this database is returning to me, there is some other task that I can perform. So instead of waiting, I'll put this into an asynchronous call. So what happens is, there is a normal flow of the process, I just move this away from the normal flow. So now the call will take place and it will return me back. So if it is taking me 5 seconds, I will not stop executing the process which is further on, right? So this will be taking, it will basically go beyond the flow of the normal execution of the process, and then at the side, at parallelly, it is taking place and your process also taking place, because here these two functions does not depend upon the result of these two functions, right? So this is what we call as a asynchronous function, taking a particular function execution out of the flow of the normal process, executing that parallelly. Am I making sense? सबको समझ में आ रहा है what I'm just saying? Taking a particular function, moving it away from the normal execution flow, and then implementing that parallelly. हम parallelly उसे implement कर रहे हैं. समझ में आया सबको? What is asynchronous? Great. ये थोड़ा समझना जरूरी है. What is asynchronous? I'll give you an example as well. एक example से जैसे समझ लेते हैं. जैसे मान लो you have a function called, let's say, add. You have another function called subtract, and then you have a function called, let's say, multiply, right? And this is the language that you're using, let's say C++, Java here, right? And here you call these same functions, add, subtract, and multiply, right? You're sending two variables at a time, AB, the normal flow will working. Then we are doing async request. Yes, the normal flow will keep on executing. Just understand from this point, it will make more sense. Dekho, we have three functions. We are implementing this with the help of JavaScript. So let's say here A and B we are sending. Here we are sending C and D, E and F. So basically what this two things is returning me, that's the add operation is returning me a particular value X. So I'm not sending that X inside this subtract. I'm sending two different variables. Similarly here I'm sending two different variables. So it does not depend upon the result of the previous function. So here in C++ and Java, what will happen is, this will take 5 seconds, this will take 5 seconds, and this will take 5 seconds. Let's say, for example, and in JavaScript, what we can do, we can make these function call as asynchronous function call because it does not depend upon the result of the previous function. So let's say I make this as async, right? This is also async and this is also async in nature. So now this will take 5 millisecond. Okay, instead of 5 second, you should think of it as a 5 millisecond because इतना ही time लगता है एक function को execute होने में. And let's say this is 5 millisecond and this is 5 millisecond. Similarly, here also this is millisecond. Okay. So now, can anyone tell me इसका total कितना होगा and what is the total of this? As this is an asynchronous call and this is a synchronous call. What will be the total here? Yes, correct. Not exactly देखो 5 नहीं होगा but हाँ around 5 to 6 के बीच में कहीं होगा, ठीक है? And here it will be around 15 seconds. So this is the difference which come into an picture. And now you guys will understand कि okay, Node.js is a single thread, but it is optimizing its call, the functions call. It is, we can make that as asynchronous. So we are able to achieve something which is faster than other programming languages, right? Which is synchronous in nature. It is synchronous in nature. So I think now I'm making more sense that what is asynchronous and synchronous, just taking a particular process which is asynchronous away from the normal execution flow. So this was the normal execution flow. I'm taking this particular function. So it, let's say it makes a function one, then this function one will end here. Then यहाँ से function two शुरू होगा, F2, it will end here. Then function 3 यहाँ से शुरू होता है, but let's say it was an asynchronous function. So here I'm making a function 3 call. It has not been returned anything yet, but again I can make a function 4 call, which is non-asynchronous function. Then it will return me back F4, and after that F3 is returning me back its answer. So this is what asynchronous. Here, when a function was executing, you implemented another function inside that. Like it take place parallelly. So you can think of this way, right? So this is what we call as asynchronous in nature. And the second thing that I want to talk about is single thread and multi-thread. We have talked about this, but thoda sa like I just want to like share you the structure of it. Yes, Node.js is asynchronous and single thread in nature. Single thread, why? Do you have less resources? Asynchronous, why? So in order to optimize the single thread processes. I think I'm making no sense, right? How it will do the asynchronous part also, na? I am going to teach you guys in today's lecture that thing only, because later on we will more be executing the implementation part, not going back and back again to the theoretical side. So I just want to share you guys the structure of a single thread and a multi-thread. That's all. I just want you guys to have this information. Okay. Yeah. Again, one more thing that just a second. Yeah, Node.js, no. The function, the things that it can do. That okay, it's a single thread. It's single thread. It's non-blocking in nature. Non-blocking in nature. So what I mean by saying non-blocking in nature, so once you see that, okay, when we were implementing the one function, we have not stopped that. After that, if any other request, any other things comes, we will implement that, because we can make that as asynchronous, like any database call, any external server calls, any network call, we can make that asynchronous. So we have a non-blocking nature. And then the third thing is event driven. The event driven. It is event driven, right? So we're going to talk about these three things. So for single thread and multi-thread, I'm just going to talk about the structure of it. So how a process is a single thread and a multi-thread, because that is, I have studied, just I want to like share that. So let's say here inside this, it is a process. Let's say it is a P1. It's one of the processes. So here there will be a thread. That means a set of instructions that it has in order to perform that. Let's say some instructions are there, right? Then along with that, it will have a code, right? It will have some data along with that. It is a process. Process will have like what you need to do, all of the memory initialization. Like in this code you have initialized few memories, so that memory will be present on the stack, right? So stack is here. The initialization of that variables are present on registers, right? Register is nothing, just a memory. Inside there are multiple level of memory. Register is one of the fast read write memories, so register is also present. And then these files are also present, that okay, on which file you have implemented this code and everything. So this is what makes a complete process. It has code, it has data, it has file, it has registers, and a stack. These two are the memories. Files are also a kind of a memory where you have executed your code, and then along with that your data. Okay, data is nothing, just addresses that where you have stored what. Okay, so that is a process one. This is what we call a single thread. Don't get confused, just consume this information. Just I'm just talking about this, just consume this information, don't get confused. And once we talk about this threads for multi-threading system, what happens is this threads break down into multiple threads, right? But they will share few things. So it is not that okay, this one thread will be there, here, then here, then here. So a thread will be multiples. Let's say it will be my T1 thread, T2 thread, T3 thread, right? These are my multiple threads that we have. But it these all processes will share few things. There will be few things which is common between every one of them, that is the code. The code will be shared, the common between every thread. The data will be common, and the files, these things will be common between them. The things that is going to be different, that is their stack and their register. Basically these two things, registers and stack, they are going to be different in each of them. So this is S1, R1, S2, R2, stack 3, and register 3. So these processes, these are the multiple threads. So let's say P1, P2, and P3, multiple threads, right? This is overall one thread, means one process, but internally it is doing a lot of things, right? So multi-threading systems, but the code is going to be remain same. They are going to share the same code, the same data, and the same files. Only the stack and the register is going to be different. So this is what a multi-thread looks like. I just want you guys to know this, that's all, nothing. इसमें किसी को कोई confusion है multi-threading and this? Okay, great. Okay, so अब देखते हैं just a second. No. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's take a break. Okay. I think we have gone through a lot of information. So let's take a break, right? Break लेते हैं. What do you guys say? 10 minutes or 15 minutes? कितना सही रहेगा बताओ? We should take a break of 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like in the previous lecture, I used to give 15 minutes, so I have no issues. Thumbs up, just be fine. I'm fine with everything. So right now it's 9:50. So catch up at, let's come back at 10:05. Yeah, 10:05. Okay. So just be here in this call. Don't leave this. You can like go eat and just fresh yourself up. Okay. Yeah, Rajesh. Rajesh, can you join? Like, I think staying here won't. Can you come at last inside this meet? Because that would be a bit of struggle with the new students. Is there any issue that you can come at the last? Then I can take it out. What do you say, Rajesh? Okay, then go on. Share your screen. Just a You are sharing the screen, but nothing is visible.
No, am I audible right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I got an issue here. Like when I tried to it was like my controllers here, and I passed it to the middleware, like product routes. I was not getting anything. Like, let me show you what happens. Like I click to product routes.
Show me the network calls.
Yeah, it was showing the route was doesn't exist.
Just go back and make the call again and show me the network calls once.
Okay, okay.
I just want to see where it is making a request. The endpoint. Now click on that product route. Click on this product, the call that has been made. इस पे click करो. API v1/products get request कर रहा है ये, ठीक है, for not found. अब show me the code. कंट्रोल करके इस प्रोडक्ट राउटर पे एक बार क्लिक करना. अपने राउटर एक्सपोर्ट किया है यहाँ से,
हाँ.
प्रोडक्ट राउटर नहीं. दैट्स द थिंग ना. आपको नेमिंग कन्वेंशन यहाँ चेंज करना पड़ेगा. प्रोडक्ट राउटर लिखो.
ओके, यहाँ पर.
हाँ, नहीं वो बीच में क्या क्या आ गया वो सब. हाँ चलो अब सही है. जस्ट कॉपी पेस्ट कर दो फटाफट. और इसे कहाँ पे ये डॉट गेट हो रहा है. हाँ, यहाँ जो इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं ना उसी में भी प्रोडक्ट राउटर राउट्स एंड प्रोडक्ट्स आ रहा है. ठीक है.
वो नेमिंग का वजह से हो रहा है यहाँ पर.
मे बी नॉट. हो सकता है ये मिडलवेयर की वजह से. बाकी एपीआई कॉल्स हो रही थी,
हाँ.
तो फिर मिडलवेयर का तो इशू नहीं है मेरे ख्याल से. जो एरर हैंडलिंग लगा रखी है ना, मे बी उसकी वजह से भी हो सकता है. एक बार प्रोडक्ट पे क्लिक करो. अच्छा, एक बार फिर से इस पे आओ, प्रोडक्ट्स पे क्लिक करो. राउट ये मिडलवेयर कर रहा है कि v1/products डज नॉट फाउंड. ये मिडलवेयर का एरर है. मतलब कि उस ये
मगर मैं तो
एपी
मिडलवेयर करेक्टली पास किया ना यहाँ पर.
/products नहीं, ये तो हमारा एंड पॉइंट है. ये तो एंड पॉइंट प्रेजेंट है, बट मिडलवेयर थ्रो कर रहा है तुम्हारा. कोई नो फाउंड मिडलवेयर होगा ना. हाँ, ये जो नीचे वाला है ये थ्रो कर रहा है. एक बार इसको हाइड करना. लाइन नंबर 28 को हाइड करो एक बार. सेव करो, फिर से हिट करो. API v1/products. कैन नॉट गेट API v1/products. एक बार क्लिक करने इस पर वापस. नहीं, उधर ही क्लिक करो. हाँ, रिस्पॉन्स में देखना क्या आ रहा है. इधर ऊपर ही जो रिस्पॉन्स है, प्रीव्यू के बाद रिस्पॉन्स है ना. हेडर्स, प्रीव्यू, रिस्पॉन्स, इनिशिएटर, टाइमिंग. यहीं पे नीचे.
ओ,
हाँ.
यहाँ पर सॉरी.
कैन नॉट गेट API v1/products. इसको राउट नहीं मिल रहा है, दिक्कत ही हो रही है. तो कोई गेट राउट नहीं बनाया है स्लैश का.
हाँ, बना लिया था मैंने.
दिखाओ एक बार.
यहाँ से पास कर रहा हूँ और यहाँ पर राउटर पर गेट तो पास हो रहा है ना?
हाँ, गेट ऑल प्रोडक्ट्स है तो। अच्छा, एक काम करो, उधर आओ वापस से सर्वर पे, मेन app.js फाइल पे, और यहाँ पे ना ये प्रोडक्ट राउटर एक बार हटाओ और रेक रेस लिखो, मतलब जैसे हम कंट्रोलर लिखते हैं ना यहीं पे।
हम्म।
हाँ, यहीं पे लिखो एक बार रेक रेस, और ऐप डॉट यूज की जगह ऐप डॉट गेट कर लेना। कुछ नहीं, बस कंसोल करा दो कि वी आर कमिंग हेयर। स्ट्रिंग्स सेव करो, ऐप डॉट गेट कर दो इसे।
इसे काम पर करूँ?
ऐप डॉट यूज है ना, उसे ऐप
हम्म।
डॉट गेट कर लो। आई एम नॉट गेटिंग, इसे ये रिक्वेस्ट क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है? API v1 स्लैश प्रोडक्ट्स सही तो कॉल कर रहे हैं। एक बार फिर से इस प्रोडक्ट्स को खोलना, एस है या लास्ट में प्रोडक्ट है? हेडर्स पे आओ, प्रोडक्ट्स है ये। लोकल होस्ट 5000 पे है। सर्वर कहाँ पे हमारा रन कर रहा है?
5000 पर।
और उसमें प्रोडक्ट्स है या क्या है? एस तो है इधर भी। API v1 एक बार देख लो, सब स्मॉल अपर केस सेम है ना?
हाँ, सब सेम है।
और
एपीआई
बाकी
में कट कॉपी पेस्ट ही किया, लाइक यहाँ से यहाँ पर।
आई थिंक मिस्टेक है। API से पहले फॉरवर्ड स्लैश पुट करो,
ओ,
वहां पे लाइन नंबर 24 पे।
यहाँ
वहां नहीं,
पर।
वहां नहीं, यहाँ पे हाँ।
मैं यहाँ तो हो रहा है ना इनिशियली 5000 के बाद।
एक बार आओ वापस से हिट करो। समथिंग वेंट रॉन्ग, प्लीज ट्राई अगेन। प्रोडक्ट्स में स्लैश API, ये बार इस बार कोई और इन्फॉर्मेशन है, ये देखना प्रोडक्ट्स में क्या है, किसी और
हाँ,
एरर
ये
का।
एरर था, लाइक मैंने कस्टम एरर मेक किया था।
अब एक बार राउट दिखाओ मुझे दोबारा से। या तो जो तुम URL दे रहे हो उसमें कुछ गलती है, जो वहां पे स्लैश API स्लैश v1 प्रोडक्ट्स है ना,
हम्म।
वापस आओ सर्वर में। या तो उसमें दिक्कत है, नहीं तो इधर दिक्कत है, v1 और प्रोडक्ट्स। अब तो वैसे चल जाना चाहिए था, पता नहीं क्यों नहीं चला। रिक्वेस्ट डॉट सेंड इज नॉट अ फंक्शन। रिटर्न करो, रिटर्न इससे पहले लिखो। या एक काम करो, ये लाइन हटाओ, इसकी वजह से मेरे ख्याल से इस बार ये एरर आया था।
कौन
एक
सा?
बार कंसोल करो।
पूरा लाइन?
हाँ, बस कंसोल कर दो। बस मैं देखना चाहता हूँ कि हाँ हम आ रहे हैं कि नहीं।
सब
अब
एक करूँ ना?
हाँ, एक बार करो फिर से। एक बार पेज रिफ्रेश भी कर लेना। करो। अब शायद मिल गया प्रोडक्ट्स, हाँ अब कॉल हो गया है। वहां पे जाओ, कंसोल पे देखो कुछ आया VS कोड पे।
हाँ, दिस इज वर्किंग आ रहा है।
अब आ गया ना, ठीक है। अब एक बार वापस से रिटर्न के साथ वो स्टेटमेंट लिखो।
इसको ना?
हाँ, और
हम्म।
ऐसे मत भेजो, res डॉट सेंड में ना ऑब्जेक्ट मत भेजो। एक सिर्फ नॉर्मल स्ट्रिंग
जेसन बना
भेजो।
दो ना?
नॉर्मल, हाँ जेसन बना दो, वो ज्यादा बेटर है। नहीं मतलब आरईएस डॉट सेंड लिखो, चलो वापस से आरईएस डॉट सेंड लिख दो, और इसमें से ना वो मैसेज करके जो ऑब्जेक्ट है ना ये हटा दो, बस स्ट्रिंग रहने दो,
ओके।
मैसेज हटा दो और कर्ली ब्रेसेस हटा दो। वैसे इससे इशू तो उतना नहीं होगा, बट स्टिल करके एक बार देख लो। और ये कंसोल वाली लाइन ऊपर कर दो, वरना वो फिर से एरर थ्रो कर देगा।
हाँ, अभी भी नहीं हो रहा था
नहीं
लेकिन।
नहीं, एक बार आओ ना, वो हमने रिटर्न नहीं किया ना वैसे कुछ, इसलिए। अब एक बार देखना वहाँ कंसोल में कुछ आया।
नहीं
ये
आया।
ये एरर तो कुछ और थ्रो कर रहा है, आरईएस डॉट सेंड का एरर थ्रो कर रहा है। एक काम करो, लिखो आरईएस डॉट स्टेटस 200।
हाँ।
रिक्वेस्ट लिखा हुआ था ना, रिक्वेस्ट, और अरे रिस्पॉन्स होता है, आरईएस होता है
ओ।
राजेश,
हाँ
आरईएस
या।
होता है। और सिर्फ बाकी का हटा दो सारा कुछ, 200 और पीछे का हटा दो सारा,
पीछे का कौन
सेंड
सा?
डॉट डॉट सेंड से हटा दो सारा कुछ। रिक्वेस्ट लिख रखा था ना, ये वो एरर थ्रू इसलिए कर रहा है।
ओके ओके।
बट मेन मिस्टेक मेरे ख्याल से ये नहीं थी, मेन मिस्टेक कुछ और थी। एक बार आप वहां जाओ, हाँ शायद एक बार इस बार प्रोडक्ट्स पे क्लिक करना, अपने जो राउट किया है ये नेटवर्क, दिस इज वर्किंग हो रहा है, ठीक है। यहाँ पे देखो दिस इज वर्किंग आ गया, और वहां पे जो स्टेटस कॉल हुआ होगा वहां देखो, एक बार नेटवर्क कॉल्स में देखो, क्रोम पे, ब्राउजर पे। यहाँ नहीं आएंगे
और
अभी हम।
रिक्वेस्ट
अरे
ना यहाँ पर?
हाँ, यहाँ पे रिक्वेस्ट नहीं है, मैं तुम्हें एरर बताता हूँ क्या था। एरर कुछ और था। नहीं नहीं, यहाँ रिस्पॉन्स ही रहेगा, यहाँ रिस्पॉन्स ही भेजते हैं हम, ना भेजते हैं।
हाँ
यहाँ तो
वही
रिस्पॉन्स
कंफ्यूज।
रहेगा। तुम्हारी गलती पता है क्या थी?
क्या?
राउटिंग की गलती थी। जहां तुम एपीआई हिट कर रहे थे ना, वहां एपीआई के आगे फॉरवर्ड स्लैश नहीं लगा हुआ था तुम्हारा सर्वर
मगर
फाइल
मैंने।
में।
ओके। चेक
ऐप
करता हूँ।
डॉट जेएस, जहां हमने वो उसके आगे एपीआई के आगे फॉरवर्ड स्लैश लगाया था ना,
हम्म।
तभी उसको ना वो राउट नहीं मिल रहा था, वो फॉरवर्ड स्लैश नहीं था उधर।
मगर यहाँ
अब
से लाइक गेट एपीआई से वो फिक्स हो जाएगा ना इनिशियली, आई मीन।
नहीं
यू
होगा।
लाइक मिडिल वेयर तो सबको पास होता है ना, लाइक मैंने
तो
लाइक पाथ नहीं दिया था।
वो फाइंड कर रहा है ना कि मुझे ये पर्टिकुलर एंड पॉइंट चाहिए। या तो आप स्लैश लॉगिन लिखो, या तो आप सिर्फ लॉगिन लिखो। सिर्फ लॉगिन तो वर्क करेगा ही नहीं ना, स्लैश लॉगिन होना चाहिए था कि होम राउट, और उसके बाद स्लैश लॉगिन पे हम जा रहे हैं या स्लैश रजिस्ट्रेशन पे जा रहे हैं, तो वो एक फॉरवर्ड स्लैश आएगा। तो वो मिसिंग थी।
ओके।
अब तुम रैक रेस हटा सकते हो, एंड अपना वो जो तुम्हारा वो था राउटर, वो लिख सकते हो।
ये वर्क करना चाहिए ना?
नीचे वाला हाइड कर दो।
सो यहाँ पर कौन क्या करती?
कहाँ पे इशू आ रहा है?
एक यहाँ पर रेड कलर कुछ आ रहा है। कोई इश्यू नहीं लगता। तो नहीं तो यार। हाँ यहाँ पर कुछ है।
रिफ्रेश करो एक बार, हो गया ना, वर्क कर रहा है।
हाँ। सो फ्रंट स्लैश का इशू था।
बस स्लैश का इशू तो और कुछ नहीं।
ओके ओके। मैं तो पूरा कंफ्यूजन हो गया था, लाइक मैं राउटर से गए कंट्रोलर से चेक कर रहा था मुझे।
डीबग करके ना ब्रेक डाउन करो उसे कि राउट नहीं मिल रहा है ना, तो इधर ही दिक्कत है कहीं। तो वो मुझे बस हिट कर गया था कि फॉरवर्ड स्लैश मुझे बस दिख गया कि नहीं था। दैट्स ऑल, वही वाली चीज़ है बस। चलो
okay,
कोई नहीं,
thank you.
welcome. You can stop sharing your screen. Thanks. Guys, just give me 2-3 minutes. मैं आता हूँ 10 तक. I'll be back. Yeah, sorry. So one suggestion I would like, am I audible now, everyone? Just let me know. Just one suggestion that I would like to give you guys, that these students, those who joined in between, like they were asking doubts, no? They were the good students, but they missed few lectures and the peak lectures, like the authentication one and the to-do app. So that's why they are facing issues, and might be they have to repeat the module. So be attentive at least the first 10 lectures, first 15 lectures. I think up to where, if I talk, up to at least to do web, right? These are the important ones from like APIs, okay, status code, postman, test spaces, authentication, to do app, and a bit of file system. These are the kind of an important. So be in the class regularly. It would help you guys only. Okay. Okay, so we were talking about the Node.js, the characteristic of the Node.js. So the JavaScript provide two functionalities to Node.js. One is asynchronous and single-threaded. Along with that, Node.js has few other things that is it is non-blocking in nature. So as someone is saying that, okay, all the processes are coming in the same path only. So why it's a non-blocking in nature, means why it does not block the other processes first. It caters the one process, and then it takes the other process, and then so on and so forth. So but this is not what happens with the Node.js. Why it is non-blocking in nature? Yeah, it has asynchronous call, like asynchronous functionalities, but how this asynchronous help us to achieve that we're gonna study. Just a second. So it is called as a means this nature, non-blocking nature of a Node.js, just let me write non-blocking in nature. This feature is achieved by event loop. Have you guys heard about event loop in JavaScript? किसी ने सुना है? Anything, any idea about this event loop? नहीं, किसी को कोई आइडिया नहीं है? ठीक है, कोई इशू नहीं है. So this is a kind of a bit of an advanced part. ठीक है, just a second. Yeah, so non-blocking in its nature is achieved by the event loop. So we're going to study like what is event loop. I'm not going to go very depth because it will confuse you like in depth, but you should have an idea that if someone asks you in an interview that how non-blocking nature in Node.js is achieved, so that you can explain the event loop. So quickly, I'll just go like help you guys to go through this. So let's say this is my queue of a processes, right? Processes coming to this particular queue, and it's a single thread, so only one thread is there, one queue is there, right? So let's say one process or one request comes from the client. So we have studied the client sends a request to the servers, right? And our server is single thread in nature. It's single thread. So the request one comes into an picture. So it was, let's say it was asynchronous in nature. So it will execute few seconds on the servers, like we received it, whatever the second few milliseconds it takes, and we do that. But says asynchronous call, so we will take that out away from the normal execution flow, right? So what will happen is we will send this function to event loop. So now what is this event loop? I'll just create one. Okay, so because we are making a lot of asynchronous calls, so we need a place where we can keep the track of those processes, those functions which are asynchronous and which has been executed, jo execute ho gaye and which are left to execute, right? Because there will be a lot of asynchronous function inside our thread, inside a pool. So we need to keep the track. So this event loops come into a picture. So what it do, it basically picks one by one every processes from that pool. So let's say we have a pool, right? Threads of pool. So we call it as thread pool. Basically, all the processes come at these places, which are asynchronous in nature. Okay? So this particular request comes at time, let's say t is equals to 0. We spend few seconds here, let's say 5 seconds here. Then we make any asynchronous call. What are the asynchronous call? Any database related calls, any API related calls which are interacting with the third parties applications or whatever, right? So we are reading the file system. So these are the API calls. Sorry, asynchronous call. I have talked to you guys about this now. These calls, network call, DB call, disk call, these are the asynchronous in nature. Okay? So what we did is this was an asynchronous call. We put that particular request here, R1 here. Okay? Let's say there are another calls come, R2, R3, R4, which are asynchronous in nature. So we keep on putting those asynchronous call here. And this event loop is keep running, and it's checking that any new request is coming. If coming, put that inside a thread pool at the last, and then check whether this R1 has been executed or not. Okay? If this R1 has been executed, so what gonna happen is, let's say we only have this particular request inside a thread pool. So what it does, it first put that inside a thread pool. Then once this R1 is completed, means it took few more seconds, or let's say 10 more milliseconds. It is keep running and keep checking whether this R1 is completed or not. Once this R1 is completed, it will return it back that okay, this function is completed, and then this event loop is going to return whatever the data it has received, whatever the functionality request or the API calls it has, it's gonna return to our main thread. So, and now what is the need for making this particular thing and asynchronous. So let's say another request come into a picture, R2 comes into a picture, which is not a asynchronous call. It is a normal call. A normal request comes into a picture and we are sending back a response to it. Okay, but this function has not been finished yet. This has not been finished, but we have put that inside a thread pool, so it will execute. But right now this was not an asynchronous function. So what we will do, we will cater this particular thing. We will take this down, because let's say here my lines of code have been written, right? So we keeps on implementing those things, because this particular things has been taken away from a flow. Here we have started an async job, right? Async job have been started here, right? At this particular point. Now this particular thing come. Let's say we took this much amount of time and this was not a synchronous call. Sorry, this was a synchronous, not a asynchronous call. Normal execution, normal read write, जो भी था, मतलब normal just get request थी, कुछ भी था, that we performed. It took us 5 seconds and we return back the response. So let's say इसको अच्छे से बनाते हैं. So this was R2 is send a request and we send back the response along with the data that, okay, everything works fine, no issues with that. So now this R1 was keep on executing, which has not been finished, but inside, like in between, we cater another request. So this is how it is non-blocking in nature. One job was executing, it was asynchronous in nature. We like take that away from the normal execution. Another request comes in between, we cater that, we responded back. So this particular request does not need to stop, right? It is not happening like when this event loops return this particular things to here, and this will return to this particular main thread, right? So here async job is completed, right? Now this async job will return back this R1. So this was the R1, let's say, and it sends a request. This was the R1 call, and we are sending back its a response. So this is how it happens. We does not waited for this particular R1 to finish, then to cater this R2. It was asynchronous. We keep that, we bring that out of the flow of this particular main execution. We cater R2, we execute that thing. It was asynchronous in nature. If it was an asynchronous function, so we have put that asynchronous here inside this particular thing. And event loop will keep the track of things which has completed. If R1 complete, it will go out of the queue and then we return it back. Then R2 will pick, R3 will pick, all the asynchronous pick one by one from here. But between an asynchronous and synchronous functionalities, synchronous get executed, and while the asynchronous was working along the side, right? So once it got completed, let's say it took us 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here, and then 10 seconds here, and then we return it back. So total of 15 seconds. But this particular function R2 does not wait it for 15 seconds. We return from its starting and we return it back inside the 5 second itself, 5 millisecond itself. So this is how Node.js is, you can say, non-blocking in nature. Understood, everyone? How it is working? This is important. This part, event loop, this name is important. Event loop is not responsible for checking whether here the requests are coming, they are synchronous or asynchronous in nature. It is not responsible here. The JavaScript is responsible for doing that. JavaScript has two functionalities like await, async and await, right? So by defining any function, let's say this is the way how you define a normal function, right? But putting a async keyword before that, what you'll do is make this a asynchronous function. Now this async automatically this event loop will, the way it start implementing, it will take that and put that into a thread loop. That's all the work of the event loop. Now it will run again and again to check whether this R1 has been completed or not. If it is, then pick the another asynchronous thing. If that is also there and nothing is inside, then return whatever the information that you have received. Does not block async and sync both. I didn't get your question, but Devansh, I think you're saying that, okay, if all the async calls are coming, then they are going here, right? And then you can say that, okay, asynchronous are blocking, because we have something that all the asynchronous calls are coming here, and we are putting that inside this queue, and when R1 get complete, then only we will pick R2. Then you can say, okay, this was blocking in nature. But to remember that thing, this functionality of dividing the things like synchronous function and asynchronous function is not present in another language. So uh, you cannot do this particular thing, like to differentiate things between C++ and Java, right? But this is the functionality which come into in picture. So the broader request, let's say the 50% and 50%, you divide them both. One go to the asynchronous function, and while the synchronous functions keep executing. So your amount, the time is already reduced by like the half, right? So that is how we are achieving this non-blocking nature. When someone is saying why non-blocking, so it is in between the synchronous and non-synchronous functions. Okay, understood everyone? Shubham, Devansh, everyone, please ask your question. It is important to understand. Anyone, any doubt? When asynchronous request returns result, that time is synchronous request is there, so it will wait to complete the synchronous. हाँ, देवांश जॉब शेड्यूलिंग की तरह है. शुभम इज सेइंग व्हेन एसिंक्रोनस रिक्वेस्ट रिटर्न रिजल्ट. तो आई थिंक ये इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे है कि यहाँ पे हम जब रिटर्न कर रहे हैं, दैट टाइम इफ अ सिंक्रोनस, लेट्स से यहाँ पे एक दे आर सेइंग कि एक दूसरी रिक्वेस्ट आती है, सो इट विल वेट टू कंप्लीट अ एसिंक्रोनस रिक्वेस्ट और टू रिटर्न. नहीं नहीं, ऐसे नहीं होता शुभम. देखो, ये एसिंक्रोनस फंक्शन एक अलग राउटर हैंडल कर रहा होगा, और जो सिंक्रोनस फंक्शन होगा वो अलग राउटर हैंडल कर रहा होगा. सो साइमल्टेनियसली दिस विल बी रिटर्न एंड इट विल बी टेकन. जो नया रिक्वेस्ट आएगा वो एक अलग राउटर हैंडल कर लेगा, एंड दिस विल बी रिटर्न बाय अनदर राउटर जो एसिंक होगा, जो इसको हैंडल कर रहा होगा. सो दैट विल बी डन साइमल्टेनियसली. ठीक है. ओके, एनीवन, if it is clear, please write clear yes in the chat so that I can move forward. इवेंट लूप को आई थिंक जाना, एक बार सर्च करना, यू विल गेट सम रिक्वेस्ट. एनी रिक्वेस्ट इज async? No, not all the requests are asyncs. You have to make request asyncs. It is wrong to say that async tasks are handled at last. Yes, it is wrong, because async function, like here it is not necessary कि this asynchronous function took 10 seconds. Let's say 5 second आया, then यहाँ पे execute होके R2, when R2 was come, and in between my this particular function gets over, my asynchronous function, so in between I can return back. So I will return back to R1. So no issues with that. So it is not mandatory कि वो last में ही execute होगा, वो अपने आप handle होके return कर जाएगा. और हमेशा जो execution होता है देवांश, line by line ही होता है. So पहले जो function होगा उसका execution, फिर second, फिर third asynchronous था, वो flow से बाहर चला गया, and then fourth function, fifth function. But let's say fifth function execute हो ही रहा था, उसने result return कर दिया, देन अब हम वापस से मल्टी थ्रेड जो हुए वो वापस से सिंगल थ्रेड में हम जुड़ गए. दैट्स ऑल. Okay, so one more thing that we are left with in this characteristic wala part, that is this thing that we have seen that it is single thread, it is non-blocking in nature, and this is event driven. So Node.js, along with the help of JavaScript functions, it could be event driven, that you can write few functions which are event driven. You can write few routes which are event driven. So I'll just name few. I know you might have heard about these things, but you can use that here as well. So I just want to write that. One is the set timeout. I think you guys have heard about this particular thing, right? Set timeout, एक function you can implement, whatever you can write logic here, and then after that you passes how many millisecond after that you want this to execute again, right? And this is in milliseconds, right? So set timeout is a event driven, that you are telling the Node.js server, the developer is telling when to execute. Another functions are like set interval. Have you guys heard about set timeout, set interval? Just let me know in the chat. So yeah, event driven functions can also be there in the Node.js application. I just want to make sure. So few things I just quickly revise that we studied here. First, the properties. Okay, from here, the operations that Node.js application can do. It can communicate with database, our secondary memory, our disk, and networks as well, right? And then JavaScript provide two functionality to Node.js, that is asynchronous in nature and single thread, right? So single thread is nothing, just this way, single thread and multi-thread. One thread, all the processes will be executed in one nature, but even it is single thread, but Node.js is non-blocking in nature. So how it is non-blocking in nature? With the help of asynchronous function and with the help of event loops, we handle this, and we can say that okay, Node.js is non-blocking in nature with the help of event loop, and this is how it's deal with that. And the third thing was the event driven, that it has few event driven functionality as well. So yeah, you can say these are the normal characteristics of Node.js that you should know. Okay, just a second. Okay, I'm just writing the last part of this theoretical thing, that is the advantages of Node.js. So I think you guys should able to tell me what should be the advantages of Node.js. I think by now you should be able to tell me what are the advantages. Can anyone name few? Less resource, correct? Any other things? By non-blocking in nature and asynchronous function, we can achieve speed as well. So speed and performance as well. And how performance? Because we are using the less resources, right? So performance. Other thing is efficient. This particular application for the backend, Node.js, the tool that we are using is efficient. And the next two advantages of this, I will say that Node.js has grown a lot in the recent time, that the third party tools, a lot of third party tools are available. So you don't have to read everything from the scratch. So it is what a community tools. So it has a very good community that you can say, good community. And lot of free tools that developers are just developing them for other developers to use that and develop their own applications and everything. Even the multinational organizations, they also uses those free tools, so we call them as open source projects, right? So with Node.js we have a lot of open source node projects that we can integrate, we can use, that we can do. So these are the advantages of Node.js applications, right? So yeah, that's all I think. Yeah, that's all that I have to cover for today. I'll now just show you guys one demo of how a server of Node.js looks like, right? So let's open Visual Studios. So I'll create one GitHub for you guys where I'll be pushing my all the codes that we will be doing, right? Just a second. Mm, So let's make a new project. We will call this as Gen Lecture 1. Okay. And then You can go here, just open in terminal, or you can from VS Code also, you can open this folder. So let's do that thing. That would be easy to understand. So go to your desktop and open that folder. So this folder has nothing as of now. So while we were writing, we understand whenever you need a single application, single server application, you can use Node.js. So in React also, there was one file, app.js, which include everything, right? Yes or no, guys? App.js was something which include everything, and from there you can execute any other files, right? So the important part was app.js, which was rendering all of the things in React. Similarly happens with the Node.js. So we only have one file, which is the server, that we call as server. So let's call it as index.js, or you can call it as app.js. So let's say app.js. So this is my server. Here I'm gonna create a server. So what you can do, first you need to initialize few things. So few of the commands that you required in order to uh, build the server, first you need a npm package, node package manager. So you can write npm init. This is the first command that you need to always write when you are once you are creating a server. So once you enter this, there are two options. Either you can implement this way, or either you can implement with this way, npm init minus y. So minus y will, what it does, I'll just show you guys. Once you are writing npm init and enter it, so it is showing you these some of the questions, that okay, the package name will be gen lecture 1. Okay, just keeps writing enter. Version will be this, enter. Description, entry point, test command. If you want to mention any of these things, you can, but as of now, initially you can skip these things. So yes, at last, yes. So now you can see a package.json file has been created, right? And we will talk about this more in the future, but by doing npm init, we have this package manager. Now what I need is I need an express in order to create my server. So the first thing that I'm going to install is, okay, if you have written this npm init minus y, then you don't have to answer all of these questions. It would be by default y. Yes. Okay, so that's another way of doing it. Now the second command is npm install express. Okay, I'm just giving you a demo. No need to worry that what is express, what is package manager. We will see everything. Just see what is a server looks like. Or you can simply write the another way, or the way I use is simply I write npm I express. So whatever you need to install, just write npm I. So express is installing. Fine. Now, yeah. So now you can make your server. So first of all, I need to require express, right? So express equals to require, and this is how you require in ES5. The ES6 terminologies are something like import express from express, right? This is ES6 what React use. You can use that here as well, but majority of the time, in most of the project, everywhere you'll see ES5 and Node.js. So this is a convention, we follow that. So we require this. Now the second thing that we need is, so basically this is express is a server, means, and now I want to create my server. So all the functionality of express, I'm gonna initialize that into a variable. So express, I'm calling that function out. Okay, so this was my server. Now I have stored all the functionality of it inside my this app variable. Now after that, what I can do is simply there are two things that you can do. First is, a server is what? It's a listener, right? A server is what? It is listening to the all the requests, all the API requests, which is coming from the client side, right? So you should listen. So we can make I'm just making one route, a get request, okay, which is my home request, and you can handle this thing here in this way. So first thing, we will go more into a depth of this, what this is completely, what is app.get and why get, why nothing else, right? And what is this? This is an API endpoint that I have to hit this particular route in order to execute this function. just understand this thing, that I am invoking this function, this part, after this part, by hitting this particular place. So this will be the place where I need to make my API call, and then this will happen. So let's say console, or you can return from here, just write return res dot send uh this is my server. Okay. The next thing is, first you have to run your server, right? So your server should be running at some port, because machines have their ports, and port is something that a particular place that you're defining for your server to be there. For React, we run on, let's say, 3000 or something. So here we are using, let's say, 8000. So for that to run, to start executing your server, you have to listen to all the requests. So you write app.listen. Okay, this is what we use. And then you can pass, it takes two parameters. The first, okay, there is a function, but before that you can mention the port as well. So let's say 8000 port, and you are sending that into a function, and then you can write console.log. Let's say with tilde I'm writing, or just let's write here as listening on port 8000. Put this inside a string. Okay, so three or four things that we have done as of now. First we imported the Express, right? Then whatever the functionality that Express has, we assigned that to our variable app. Okay, now we are listening to a particular route. So you guys have seen about the endpoints like slash dot login, slash dot register, or anything, slash job, slash dot gem, slash dot profile, right? So this is my endpoint, and once I hit this endpoint from the client, from the front end, this function will execute. So here your business logic is going to be implemented, and then you have to return that. The last part is listener. Server is a listener to whom a network calls. Always remember, whatever the request is coming from your client, from anywhere else, servers listen to that, and according to that it acts. So we do app.listen on this particular place. Now save this file, you have to run this. So how we going to do that? Okay, once when I install this thing na npm express, so my node modules come into a picture. So what is node modules? It has all the JavaScript pre-written libraries, all the files that you can utilize. Okay, Express is not there, so we explicitly install Express. And how you can say where you have installed few things in package.json file. Here in dependency you can see that okay, Express is something that you have installed. Okay, now I'm gonna run this file. So how you can do that? By writing node, uh, because we are using node, and the file name which contain every information, which is app.js, right? So node app.js. So now you can see we are listening on port 8000. Now very useful thing that you should understand this thing very carefully. Just understand, when you were writing console.log in your React project, you have to see that log part where? On the browser, right? But right now here, I am seeing all the consoles here inside my terminal. So what has happened? Express has like taken the server from the like online part to my remote. Locally, my on my this particular port, on 8000 port, on local host 8000 port, my server is present with the help of Express. So now it has come to my local host, my local machine. That's why I'm able to see what I'm consoling on here. So whatever the console that you do on your server side, it will be present on your this terminal, not on the console of a particular place. Now let's try to hit this particular route. So let's go to Chrome. So let's write localhost colon 8000. Okay, and if you're writing forward slash, and or if you're not writing forward slash, that's the same thing. That means you are hitting the home route forward slash. So if you entered this, you can see we are getting something like this is my server. So from here, you can see this is what we have sent. And how you can see that what calls that you are making on Brave, the network calls are hidden, so you won't be able to see, but on Google Chrome, you will be able to see. So if you refresh this, uh, you have to come to the network side, and then if you click on the localhost button, you can see that okay, on this particular path on 8000 on slash, so we are listening to slash. So this particular request has invoked something which is written there. So where we are handling that thing, if any request which is coming to this particular place, we will handle that inside this particular function. That's all. And why we have written a gets, because this server, this URL from where we are searching, it is making a get request. That's why we have written here a get request. So that's all. Just this is a demo for the server. I know you guys will have a lot of doubts that why this get, not any other, what are this get, what are the categories of this, right? What is this package, what is Express? There will be doubt. I'm just giving you a demo that okay, this is how your server is going to look alike. You are not going to code anything here which is going to reflect here on this particular part. This will remain as it is. Your server is just a listener. All the business logic will be implemented here or inside a router part. Okay, so that would be, you are just coding here, nothing will be shown there as a on a UI side. So this is how your servers look like. Any doubt, anyone? Just ask me. That's just a demo for your server. Great. Okay, that's all. I think now you guys is familiar with Git and GitHub, right? No issues there. Okay, so I think I don't need to like cover that part. Although that is not inside our curriculum, but that's all. Yeah. So that's all for the server side. That's all for the development part that we need to write. I'm just writing here the commands. So the command that we use, can anyone remember that commands that we use today for creating the server? Yes, npm init was the first one, and along with that you can put -5, and the second one was npm I express to install the Express. The third one was node app.js. So this is basically your file name. If your file name is index.js, so you have to write that. So this three thing will help you to create your server. Go home like today, try by yourself and try to create this particular thing, right? So I believe you guys have no doubts, right? In today's lecture. So just let me know that how was the today's lecture from your perspective. Any feedback from the teaching style that you need to like rectify on anything, please let me know. Any feedback would be welcomed. So like, did you guys okay with the way? Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. The only purpose is basically to understand, like to make you guys understand everything. If it is going fine, then I'm good to go with everything, right? So thank you guys. That's all for today, I believe. Can we look into the BTS of node execution again after? Yeah, sure. Sure, Ronnie, sure. Every time we will be doing that thing only. So yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thank you for coming. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.